Christensen, Dr. Doug Christensen, 2006, you can't even read it, Miss Foley Award winner, and for honest, brave leadership in supporting teachers and best practices for literacy education.
Justin Timberlake right now.
Yeah. Well, this is a first. For me, it's interesting. About 2 weeks ago, I got the worst cold of my life, and I almost never get them. I've had trouble shaking it yesterday. I just felt horrible. In fact, I went home early, hoping to get enough rest so that I could be here today. Today, I feel great. In fact, my assistant said to me, "Are you coming in?" I said, "Oh yeah, I'm good for today." And she said, "Oh, how so?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to wear my underwear on the outside." And that was a metaphor for me. She didn't think it was quite as funny as I did, because I think it made her very nervous. I mean, I almost don't know what to say. I wasn't sure about this when I first heard from Barry, because it brought back some. Well, first of all, how many of you, if you heard about Miss Foley, would think this was real? And I wasn't even sure this conversation was real, but it obviously was. But it brought back memories of a high school English teacher, and when I had her in high school, I thought she was 100 years old. And she didn't like boys very much. She and her two sisters were all teachers, and all English teachers, and never married, but lived their entire life. And I had to appreciate their dedication to teaching. They walked by our house every night on their way to their apartment and basically lived to teach kids. But my English teacher didn't like boys very much. Well, make a long story longer. We were moving my mother-in-law into the nursing home in the community in which I grew up in, and as we were taking furniture in there, both my wife and I looked in the room next door and we said, "Oh my gosh, that is Miss Valder." And I said, "She's got to be 100 years old." And my wife knew somewhat how I felt about this woman, which wasn't real positive, because I have to tell you the worst part of it was that my graduating class had about 50 kids in it, and I think I was ranked 4th or 5th and was involved in lots of stuff. This woman was in charge of National Honor Society, and she intentionally made sure that I didn't get into National Honor Society for whatever reason. There were several of us in that, and I've never quite forgiven her. So my wife said, "Don't you dare go in there." But I went in there, and she looked the same as she did. I mean, it was just incredible. Here's this woman, and I said to her, she said, "Do I know you?" And I said, "Yes, I was a student of yours back in 1958, 59, and 60. And she said, "Oh my, that was a long time ago." And I said, "Yeah, it was." And she said, "Well, I don't think I remember you." And she said, "What do you do?" And I said, "Well, I'm the Commissioner of Education." She said, "Oh, what is that?" She said, "Are you in charge of education in the state?" And I said, "Well, some days, depending on whether the feds will leave me alone or not." And I said, "Well, yes, I am." And she said, "Well, she said, I think it was called state superintendent back then." I said, "Yeah, it was." And she said, "That's what you are." She said, "I remember you. You weren't a very good student." So Miss Foley brought some of that all back to me. But on behalf of all of the teachers in Nebraska, and when people say, "Well, why do you do this kind of stuff?" You do this because it protects the right work that teachers are doing. The central core of everything we do in education is about teaching, it's about learning, it's about teachers and teaching. And I will stand anytime, any place, anywhere, at whatever risk it is to protect that. And it doesn't have anything to do with being a hero. It doesn't have anything to do with wanting to make folks in Washington angry, although I do kind of enjoy that as a side benefit. It has nothing to do with any of that. In fact, being confrontational is really not my personality style. But I will stand whenever, wherever, for those right things in education, for teaching and learning and teachers and teaching. And so this is a very touching award for that reason. Nebraska's commitment to writing, the National Writing Project, some of the things that our teachers are doing throughout the state through the Council of Teachers of English is an incredible thing. And you do have an opportunity to get recognized for a lot of things, and there's been three things that have been most meaningful to me. One was being named Friend of Education by the State Education Association last spring. The second one was the Freedom Award from the National Council of Teachers of English.